As we may have seen in the last few days, the snow has started to come here in the community, but that can also mean a lot of danger to be present on the roads as winter starts to creep in a bit more, and ice and snow will become a bigger and bigger factor. Here with tips on how to stay safe on the roads as the weather starts to change, we have the Senior Communications Manager for the Road Commission of Oakland County, Craig Bryson, joining us today on The Splash. Craig, good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to have you with us as always, and really interested to get into this conversation because we have started to see the snow starting to fall. And what should people start to be looking out for now that this is becoming a factor once again?
Well, first and foremost, I would monitor your weather forecast so you know what's happening, what's likely to happen, when it's going to happen, and then if and when the snow comes, by all means, slow down. Don't drive as fast as you normally would. Even when we're out salting, plowing, there's the potential for slippery, icy conditions, and even whiteout conditions, as we saw over the Thanksgiving holiday. So please slow down for your own safety and for the safety of those on the road around you.
That's absolutely right. I mean, weather can be chaotic anywhere in the United States, and Michigan is certainly no exception, especially when it comes to snow. So what are some of the biggest dangers that might be present as these big snowstorms start to become more common?
Well, when we get the heavy snow, and we have things like whiteout conditions or just very heavy snow, we will be out with all available trucks. But frankly, if we had twice as many trucks as we have, we wouldn't be able to have every inch of road cleared, plowed, salted at every moment. So despite, the best efforts and intentions of the Road Commission, there are going to be situations where the roads are not ideal. And drivers, it's incumbent upon drivers to please drive appropriately for those conditions. Increase the space between you and other vehicles in the front, slow down, be extremely cautious, give yourself more space to turn, to switch lanes, that kind of thing. Really, caution, I can't emphasize that enough. Caution is really important during those conditions.
Caution is key, absolutely. And I'm glad that you started talking about what the Road Commission is doing around this time of year. And I'm curious, what are some of the biggest obstacles that you guys tend to face around the winter season?
Well, the biggest one really is the forecasting. Forecasting is as much an art as it is a science. Even though we have meteorologists, with advanced degrees, they're able to study the weather, but even their best forecasts are not always accurate. And there are times when we get a forecast for a big storm that doesn't materialize and we're out doing nothing. There are other times when we get no advance warning that there's going to be a big storm and we have to play catch up. Those are the more challenging situations. If we are not expecting snow, we can't be out on the road preparing for it. We monitor multiple forecasting services. We have our own paid services. We monitor the local media sources. But again, they're not always completely accurate. Storms can change directions at the drop of a hat. They can develop at the drop of a hat. And we'll respond as quickly as we can. But if we have to call in drivers from home, there can be, an hour or more delay between the point where we call those drivers in, they get to the garage, get in their truck, get their truck loaded up with salt, and get out on the road. So, again, caution on the part of the drivers is really critical this time of year.
For those just joining us on The Splash Live, we have Senior Communications Manager for the Road Commission of Oakland County, Craig Bryson, joining us on The Splash to talk about some things to watch out for on the roads as we start to see a bit more snowfall, a bit more ice, and many more factors that could come into play, and the importance of keeping yourself safe. And Craig, I want to talk about maybe you could explain this a bit more. What are some big areas around the West Bloomfield area that people might need to be looking out for more specifically?
Well, the first areas often to freeze or to become slippery are the bridges and overpasses. So anytime you're crossing a bridge or an overpass, and there's not too many overpasses in West Bloomfield, but there are certainly some bridges. Be cautious about those. When you have cold air underneath the road, that'll certainly cause the road temperature to drop more quickly and areas to freeze. Of course, hills and curves are always tricky, and we try to give those added attention. But again, things can materialize quickly. So use extreme caution if you're coming down a hill in potentially icy conditions. If there's a stop at the bottom of the hill, that can be a very difficult situation. So, again, slowing down as much as possible is critical in those situations. Because of our priority system, which is based on safety, we're going to be focusing first on the busiest roads. So the less traveled roads may be a little bit more likely to have a snow accumulation on them at times, and that may make them a little bit more slippery. So, the lower the traffic volume, the more caution you really need to apply on those roads as well.
Okay, definitely a lot of great things to watch out for as these things start to become more of a factor. And you talked about a bit more how you guys are working to minimize a lot of these issues. What are some ways you're doing so that maybe the general public might not be as aware of?
Yeah, great question. So we've introduced a lot of new techniques over the last decade or so. Now, almost all of our trucks, I think all of them actually have liquid brine tanks on the trucks. So liquid brine is naturally occurring salt water that we pump out of the ground. We literally spray that on the rock salt as it comes out of the back of the truck. That causes the rock salt to activate more quickly, causes it to stick to the pavement more quickly, and speeds the process of melting the snow and ice, as well as reducing the amount of salt we need to use, which is better for the environment. We've also added wing plows to our trucks. Those are the plows that swing out from the side, allowing us to plow a lane and a half at one time. Our newest trucks now have wings on both sides, so we could actually theoretically plow almost 2 full lanes at once. They are also great for plowing the shoulder as well as a through lane at once. We're also doing what's called pre-treating, where we spray the liquid brine on a dry road before the snow has started, and that creates a layer of brine on the road. So when the snow and ice does begin to fall, it mixes with that brine, and that delays the formation of ice, kind of buys us some time in that process.
Wow.
Now, we'll only do that when there's not rain prior to the snow event, because the rain would just wash it off the road. But it's a great way to delay the formation of ice on the roads.
Wow, that's all very, very fascinating. Definitely some factors that I wasn't aware of, and that's really interesting to hear what you guys are doing or what you will be doing this winter season to help protect those roads. And Craig, I also want to ask, are there any factors or incidents that come to mind that serve as a big warning to the community for really what to watch out for during the winter season?
Yeah, unfortunately, every year we have a motorist or two or a couple that will run into the back of our truck. We really, really want to caution people to back off. State law now requires that you follow a truck no closer than 200 feet. That's about 16 parking spaces behind the truck. And again, the reason for that is when a car or passenger vehicle runs into the back of a 12-ton steel truck, it's not good for the passenger vehicle. We often see cars totaled, sadly, some injuries. It doesn't affect our trucks very much because, again, they're solid steel, but it's not good for the motorists. And those trucks tend to go more slowly than passenger vehicles, and they take more space to turn and to stop. So please give them the room for your own safety, as well as to allow them to make the roads safe for the rest of us.
That's certainly right. And Craig, we appreciate all of your time and for telling us this information and for giving us a good insight on what to watch out for this season. Before we let you go, where can people go to learn a little more information on what to look out for and maybe some updates on what to watch out for as the weather starts to become a bit rougher?
Absolutely. First, you can go to our website, which is www.rcocweb.org, rcocweb.org. Please follow us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram. We'll post things on there as they're happening, let people know when our trucks are out or if there's problem areas, that type of thing. Those are the best sources to get information directly from the Road Commission.
All right, you heard it here first. That's the website, and that's where to go. Craig Bryson with the Oakland County Road Commission, we thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.